Harold Juhala. In Finland, it's Juhala. In the United States, it's Juhala. So where'd you holler at? That's how you remember it. But anyway, my grandfather came from Finland. He was off the ship. He didn't want to be drafted in the Russian army. So he went to work in the gold mine in Meade, South Dakota. Got miner's TB because they didn't have respirators like we do at Shell. And so after 2 years, I recommended he go to the prairie and breathe a lot of fresh air. So he did. And he had a can of pine tar on the stove. And every morning he would drink a glass of pine tar with a raw egg. And after a couple of years, that cleaned his system out. And he lived to be 76 years old. But in those days, they didn't have respirators. So anyway, I came to California, and I was drafted in the Army. Spent 2 years in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. When I came home, I went to employment agencies trying to find a job. And they said, yeah, we got a job at Shell Oil. The next day I got a call from the unemployment office. Yeah, we got a job at Shell Oil. Well, the unemployment office don't charge you, but the company that hires people, they charge you so much to do that. So I called the unemployment office and came to work at Shell, and they hired me. Bill Sharkey. The 28th of December. And I came to work and worked in the scale house weighing trucks. And I came to work after the first year, and they said, you didn't take your last year's vacation. You get 2 years vacation for hiring in last year. So I took 2 weeks vacation, and then I came back to work. Well, anyway, after about a month, Joe Dodd called me up and said, we're starting a new plant in LOP. Well, we need a couple new safety guys. If you want to go to Los Positos College, we'll send you there and pay your way. So I went there and took some safety classes, came back and went to work for the safety department. And I stayed with them till 1993 when they forced 43 supervisors to retire all in 1 year. And I think they gave us 2 years pay and 2 years vacation. And so I retired. But the night I retired, overall construction, who worked in there, said, are you going to go into the safety consulting? I said, yes. They said, well, come tomorrow. We'll hire you. So I went to work for them, and I started Juhala Enterprises. But anyway, when my time at Shell, I can remember going up the elevator in the cat tracker, and I saw a guy grab a hold of the hook on a crane, and he rode the hook up to the top. So when he got to the top, I was there, and I said, you're fired. Just like that, Shell back you, because it was against the rules. And so they fired him. Another incident was some guys came to work early one morning down at the compound house, and they're sitting there, nothing to do. So they said, look at that shaft on that motor turning real fast. Who do you think can stop that? And the guy says, I can. He grabbed hold of that shaft, wrapped both his arms up around it. So they called me. I was on safety duty. So I had to take him to the hospital. But he broke both arms just trying to stop the shaft. Another guy up at DSU didn't want to walk the steps down the side of the heater. So he decided to take the slide pole. Grabbed a hold of the slide pole, oily gloves, went right to the bottom, broke both legs. And then they call me to come and take care of him. But you know, you train people and you train people. And yet they don't understand that there are rules and regulations. And another time I remember Joe Dodd called me and said, take the fire truck down to the International Harvester and get the thing tuned up and oil changed. So I jumped in the fire truck. In fact, it's sitting right up here at the museum right now. And driving down the road, the truck stopped in front of me. It had rebar sticking out the back, and all that rebar come right through the engine of the truck, and I couldn't stop. The brakes were bad. So I called Joe Dodd and said, "Hey, the brakes went out on the truck. What happened?" I said, "Well, I got an engine full of rebar." He says, "Well, get the brakes fixed." So I did. So I thought they'd probably fire me, but they didn't. But anyway, we had a lot of time taking care of people that didn't want to obey the rules. Another thing I remember was when the bus came off the bridge and turned upside down, full of kids. They were going too fast and I couldn't make the corner. So they called me and said, "Take the fire truck out and just stand by to make sure it doesn't catch fire." So I sat there all day, making sure the bus didn't catch fire. And they got the kids out and hauled the bus off, and I came back to work and they paid me. But that's how we did. We put safety first. And all the while I was there, up until 93, I think 46 of us left. All in one day retired, 56 supervisors. And but anyway, that's sort of how my life went. When I retired, I went into safety consulting. And I did BAT training for the Bay Area Training Trust, and I did safety training for Chevron and some of the other refineries. And then a company, an insurance company in Walnut Creek hired me and said, "We want to bring the sugar refineries and the dog food plants up to OSHA standards in South Korea. Would you like to go? And we'll pay you $90 an hour." I said, "I'll go. When do we leave?" So they paid my trip over there and stayed in a hotel. The trouble is I really didn't know sugar refinery safety. But my wife worked for C&H Sugar in Benicia. And so I went over there and talked to her boss, and they took me on a tour on how they did safety. So when I went to Korea, that's what I looked for. So I had a good tour. So that's just a little bit about what I was doing. I raised 4 kids. One daughter's married to a Assembly of God minister in Hood River, Oregon. And the other daughter works for a doctor in Walnut Creek. And my other son works for a company that's owned by U.S. Bank. And I don't know how many of you remember, but on a credit card now, they have a code on there, and you got to slide the credit card into a machine and get that code out to get paid for the groceries. So my son is now involved with, they're going to put that code in your wrist of your hand, and you just slide it, pay for your groceries, slide it, start your car, slide it, and open your house lock. So anyway, there's new things coming out. So that's what's coming. Thank you very much. One last thing I want to say. We use Snoopy, the little Snoopy doll. And so I wanted to buy some, so I went up to A.J. Wood and I said, "I want to buy some Snoopy dolls and give one to the people for Oregon Safe. Happiness is safety." And he said, "Yeah, Harold, you can have the doll, you can have the money, but I want you to make everybody happy. Just not 2 or 3 people." So he gave me enough money to buy 1,000 Snoopy dolls, and we gave one to everybody in the refund.